Hi, today you will be learning lesson 3.5. This is a division lesson, and today we're going to talk about how we can use compatible numbers to help us divide. And using compatible numbers will make math easier, and that is always our goal. So let's take a look at a problem. And remember, we're using compatible numbers to estimate a quotient. So I have the problem 477 divided by 7. That's 477 as my dividend and 7 as my divisor. And I'm looking for an estimate. I don't need an exact answer. Well, there's a few ways that we can do this. But the best place to start is by looking at the first two digits in our dividend. So we have 47 as the first two digits in our dividend. Well, what multiples of 7 are going to be close to that? And I know because I've been practicing my basic facts that I have 42 and 49, which are both multiples of 7 and close to 47. I could use either of these to start my estimation. But just in case you don't have those on lockdown, I'm going to show you a couple tricks you can use to get there. One thing that we could do is to just make a list of all of our multiples of 7. So we'd start with 7, then 14, just skip counting, 21, 28, 35, 42, and 49. So right here, I finally, just by skip counting, I get to numbers that are pretty close to that 47 that I was looking at to begin with. And here's one other way. If just in case we don't have the time or the extra paper or the desire to do some skip counting, I want to show you one other thing you could do. We could also just use a multiplication chart. So we know that our divisor is 7. So we're going to go to the 7 and just go across until we get to a number that is close. Oh, look there, we got 42. And we go one more and we got 49, which are both very, very close to the number that we are looking at in our problem. So let's go back to that problem. So we've decided that we have 42. We've decided that we have 42 and 49. And because this is 47 tens that we're actually looking at, we'd have 42 tens and 49 tens that are then being divided by 7. So 42 divided by 7, we should all know is 6, and we have this 0 here in the ones place, so we have to annex that in our quotient. And we should also know that 49 divided by 7 is 7, and once again we have a 0 because we were talking about 49 tens, so we have 7 tens for our quotient. So 60 would be an underestimate, 70 would be an overestimate. 70 probably being the better estimate in this situation, since 490 is closer to 477 than 420 is. All right, let's take a look at a word problem here. So Mr. Nager wants to drive from Long School to United Center in Chicago to see the Blues play the Blackhawks. That is a 327-mile drive from the school to the park. So if I have to be there in 6 hours, about how fast will I have to drive? All right, so when we're looking at word problems, the first thing to do is always ask yourself, what am I being asked to find? And in this problem, I'm being asked to find about how fast will he have to drive? About how fast. So that about tells me that I'm rounding. And since I'm using division, I'm definitely going to try to use those compatible numbers. All right, so I know what I'm being asked to find. Well, what information do I already know? I know that it is 327 miles, and that I need to be there in 6 hours. So this 327 miles is going to be split over 6 hours of driving. Well, let's take a look at what that problem looks like written as a division problem. So we have 327 divided by 6. And since I don't need an exact answer, since it's asking me about, I'm going to use compatible numbers. All right, so I have 32 as the first 2 digits of my number, of the first 2 digits of my dividend. Well, what numbers are close to 32 that are evenly divisible by 6? I know that 6 times 5 is 30. Well, that's pretty close. I know that 6 times 6 is 36. That's also pretty close. So 360 is pretty close to 327, and 300 is also pretty close to 327. I would divide those by 6. I get an 36 divided by 6 is 6 with a 0 that has to be annexed. 30 divided by 6 is 5, once again with a 0 that has to be annexed. So I'm going to have to drive about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And in this situation, since I have to be there in 6 hours, I can't go over. So I'm going to say that my best estimate is that I need to drive 60 miles per hour. Obviously, I'll be looking and paying attention to any speed limit signs because we don't want to get pulled over. All right, I hope that this helped. Have a good night and good luck with the homework.